morning. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. Said he as he blew through his mask this morning. We have two nice guests this morning. I'm tickled to death that, I'm sorry that Kent, Mr. Fruge, was quarantined, but what that did was cause him to send us his substitutes this morning, and so we're happy to have them, and we're going to introduce them in just a minute. Viewpoint always tries to start with a kudo or two. I just noticed the other day that here's the holiday season on us already, and Salvation Army Red Kettle time. Those folks need volunteers. You know, the Salvation Army does a tremendous amount of good in this community, and they work with tough resources, so they have to put the kettle out. And I go back so far, I remember when the Salvation Army had a little chapter here, and we had the lasses and the lads on what was known as Kresge's Corner with their drums and their horns, and they would play a little Christmas music, and people would drop by and drop 30 cents in the kettle. Well, those days are gone. We have to have more than 30 cents in the kettle today. So think of the Salvation Army as you're thinking of little extra places for your money. They do good work. So, Tony, we hope that will work for you, and you can pay me 45 cents when I see you at the bar.
There you go. What the heck?
No. Let's get serious here. Today. Well, I was
Your
serious.
bar is probably closed.
I was very serious about the Salvation Army. I don't want to make light of that business. So, introduce our guest, Judith Kay.
Yes, we have two very nice people here who are very busy. Chris Allen is the principal at Northwest School here in Lincoln, and they're going to be closed down, and we'll be talking about that this morning. And Jamie Fruge is the school nurse, and I bet you've been terribly busy. It's
kind of been a roller coaster.
Everybody's been affected by this coronavirus. I don't care who you are. There's nobody in this town or world you can talk to that hasn't been affected in some way. Now,
I get to say this about Jamie. She chose her parents very wisely. Her mother and dad are solid. They're wonderful people, and I'm happy to have had them as friends for a long time. So I extend my greetings to them this morning.
There you go. Thank you for that. So we're going to talk about these kids. Bill and I have great-grandkids who are in school. One has been recently affected by your bosses having been exposed through his wife. She's a teacher at West Lincoln Broadwell. She had the virus. Our Jim has been bad sick with the virus.
We're
First he was afraid,
I said we're glad to see he's doing better. His wife Laura actually works at Northwest too.
So you know her well.
Yes,
sure.
we do.
Yeah. She's a good egg.
She's fantastic.
Well, poor Jim. He was afraid he was going to die, and then he was afraid he wasn't.
You are.
So he's finally back amongst us, and we are very grateful for that.
Yeah, he's scared.
Can I take that off?
Up to you.
I had to because I couldn't drink my coffee without it.
Well, there is that. So we are going to talk about these children. My great-grandson goes to West Lincoln Broadwell School, and so they've been out because of this virus. The schools all over the country have been closed down. And he and I talk a lot about this whole generation of kids. They're missing out on so much. As an educator, how do you feel about there's no alternative? I mean, you have to shut down. You have to keep these kids well. But how do you feel about this? Does it worry you terribly?
So there's several things I think that we consider when we're talking about the schools right now. One was we worked very diligently over the summer to try to find successful ways to get the kids back in the building, because we know that the best education for these kids is in-person learning. But we reached a point in the last few weeks where Logan County's numbers and our area's numbers have been going up so drastically that we felt like to safely educate the kids, we needed to go back to remote. And so we've been working all year to prepare the kids for the possibility that any day we could be remote, and we do. And Mr. Frobe, if he was here, he would tell you the same thing, that he feels the biggest injustice to these kids is actually going to be the fact that they're not going to be in person, and they're missing so many minutes with their teachers in person, face to face, that what's the impact not only for this year but for several years going forward.
Of course, kids are so adaptable. Thank you, God. And besides that, I doubt that there's one who lives and breathes that isn't well acquainted with the computer.
Yes.
and all sorts of technology, which includes me out.
But there's a problem there.
There's a big
Some folks do not have computers in their homes. I mean, it's hard to believe that today, but there are some economic circumstances which don't allow them to do that.
So for District 27, we've actually provided every kid in the district with a Chromebook.
Yes.
And then if somebody
District 27, make sure that every kid
has a Chromebook, every kid has a school purchased device that every kid's gone home with. And Mr. Frobe with Barb Coffee and Colleen Jalowski, they've made funds available to be able to purchase hotspots. So if a kid doesn't have internet at their house, we were able to provide them with the hotspot so that they have the internet access as well. So we're trying to take out any of the economics or the fact that if a kid doesn't have a device or they don't have internet, that's not going to be a problem with this process.
Well, I just worry that countrywide, we're going to have some kids fall through the cracks through no fault of their own. And that's a very sad commentary. But I'm afraid I'm going. I sure like to be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be there. Some kids are inevitably not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, we made school optional at the beginning of the year. Parents could choose to do in person, or they could choose to do remote. So to start off the year, I would say we probably had 70% of our school district in person. About 30% were doing it remotely. We felt that probably a large percentage of the 30% should have been some of our kids that should have been in person. During the first quarter, a lot of those families indicated that they saw us being successful at school, saw school was going well, and they wanted to get their kids back in school. So we had a large chunk of that 30% come back to the building. Because I think the parents also saw that school plays a very large role. It's just not a child care service, but they're seeing that the academics that their kids weren't getting online weren't as strong as they would have gotten it in person as well.
Well, how about, I'm suspecting that I'm not the only person who's completely crippled when it comes to any kind of technology. And that's the truth.
There's an on-off
I
switch.
can't even spell computer, let alone turn one on. So there are other people like that. Who helps these little people?
So the teachers from day one, so we spent the first 2 weeks of the school year basically just teaching computer skills, and teaching it as if the kids were all remote. So we spent a lot of the time, if we do math, this is what math's going to look like on the computer. This is how our reading is going to look on the computer. Just trying to teach those skills. And we've gotten to the point now where the kids are pretty well adept and adapted to using the devices and how to use the devices appropriately. And many times they're teaching the teachers how to do some functions on the computers and helping us out actually. So the kids are very capable. Now, not to say I have a 4-year-old who's doing remote learning right now. So parents still have to be side by side with some of those younger kids to really help out. So we have teachers who are doing some live lessons. If they do a live lesson, the kid's not able to be there on that live lesson with the teacher, they're also recording those lessons and then posting them later. So the parents who have to do it after hours, they can get on and they can watch those videos and do it with the kids at that time too.
Well, I'm afraid that my attention has been absorbed worrying about the children. Let's talk a little minute about these poor teachers. How are they keeping all the balls in the air?
The teachers have been working really hard this year. I mean, they work hard every year.
Yes,
but right now it was a struggle at the beginning of the year, trying to work out how they were going to manage our online learners with our in-person learners, and we had some different things going on across the district. But they've been planning for this as well, and we've done a lot of training. So Barb Coffey is our technology director for the district. So last year when we had to start moving to remote, she would do daily lessons teaching the teachers. So we spent a lot of time teaching teachers how to use the devices, how to use technology, different programs that we can use to make online learning easier for the teachers.
They've always earned their nickel, I grant.
No.
But they're really earning them this year, aren't they?
They are. They really are.
And unfortunately, it's not much more than a nickel. Our teachers are, I'm going to tell you flat out, our teachers are underpaid. And that's just the way it is. Mrs. Fruge, tell me about your involvement in education. Are you working with the health factor of our teachers and our children?
Yes, so I've been at the district since 2008, and
Well, you're an old timer, if you excuse the expression.
yes, I know. I work with the whole district, so I have 5 schools I take care of. And it's just me, and like this year has been kind of busy, I can say. You know, I've been running around and trying to keep track of kids that tested positive, parents that tested positive, and communicate with the Logan County Health Department and try to quarantine those students and keep track of the dates that they can come back, and they have to have a note that says they come back, you know, that they were negative or their quarantine is over from the health department. So I've been super busy just keeping track of that since August.
And how
presume
many
that-
hours do you sleep at night? About half hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah, some nights. I mean, I feel like that's all that goes through my head now. It's
Sure, I bet
crazy.
that's right, yeah. Now, do you have a daily stream of directives and suggestions that come out of the Springfield office?
I work with the Logan County Health Department, so...
You're with the Logan County Health Department.
Well, I'm
yeah.
with the school district, but I'm working very closely with Kara Davis, Mary Anderson. We email or talk on a daily basis, so we kind of have it together with the school and the Logan County Health
that's
Department,
right.
and all we want to do is follow their directives. So,
You know, they were talking for quite a while about the fact that kids didn't seem to be affected to the degree that adults are. How and why?
so we have been in school since August 14th? Yes.
14. It was about 65 days we were in person.
Yeah, and I mean, we had done great. We might have had 2 positives at the junior high, but our grade schools were COVID-free with kids. I never had one grade school kid come up positive.
So
And
the
then
littler-
just a few weeks ago, then we just started having like the grade school kids come up positive. So right now is just the time where it was just getting worse, and we just couldn't have these kids in school. And well, we did what we could, you know. If someone was quarantined, we quarantined a class first.
Oofta.
Now,
So
let me ask this question, Mrs. Fruge.
yeah.
A youngster shows up. Now, then, is there an attempt to try to trace that back, or who that youngster's been around and so forth?
Yeah, so if we got a call or, you know, a parent called or the health department saying a student was positive, then we had to see who that student was around in the classroom. We did the 6 feet. We did longer than 15 minutes, which usually would be the whole grade school classroom. And then we would have to call all the parents and tell the parents that we're sorry, but someone tested positive in your child's classroom, and you're going to have to quarantine your child for 14 days. So we did that for a while, where certain classrooms were just quarantined until, you know, Mr. Frobe, who has done a wonderful job even with the reentry team at the beginning of the school year, and we stayed in school 60 some days. And I mean, I wish we could have still plugged along, but it just didn't work out that way. So
Now, what's the re-entry team?
we met in the summer. Mr. Frobe had all the principals there.
A group of teachers, one of the Leo, the teachers union representative there. We had a representative from the health department. So we all worked together to form what we felt was a safe plan for students to come back into the building in early August, and our staff. And so we spent countless hours. Mr. Fruge worked with the health department, spoke with Dolan Dalpaz at the hospital. Brian Williams from the health department was a big part of that they all worked together to try to come up with get information that was pertinent to our area. It's easy to look at the broad, but we wanted to really focus in on Lincoln and Logan County and see how it was impacting us. And we thought that we could re-enter school, so we worked together, build a plan that we needed in the school, what we needed the parents to be able to do, what the children would have to do every day, and how the classrooms would look to be able to make sure that we could open schools up in August.
I have a friend whose neighbor, I think, has 6 kids, and she's homeschooling them.
Wow.
Blows your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah. Say, speaking of blowing our minds, Mrs. Busby, we have done the usual Gossett Busby format on Viewpoint. We've gone 15 minutes and haven't recognized our sponsors yet. So before they come after us, we'll go after them. Go right ahead, Mr. Ash.